What's up, everyone? Thanks for listening to the Whatcast. Mike, it just isn't stopping with the UFO news and UAP news and now alien news, and I don't know. We're kind of doing two things we didn't want to do, is continue to talk about that and kind of wing episodes. We try not to wing episodes, but there's so much stuff going on.
There really is.
So much weird stuff, new developments of just weird stories. We'll get into them. That I just figured, I don't know. It's actually getting to be a little bit overwhelming. I mean, we've talked so much about this for so long, and both agree that they're never going to let us know.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're letting us know.
But are they?
Yeah, possibly letting us know.
I don't think they are. I don't. But I think rather than continue to do episodes of this, like where we're just like, hey, this week in UFO news, like let's just do a This Week in UFO News segment every week. And that way we don't need to, unless it's like huge news. But this one is I mean, what's going on now? There's some I'd say some pretty interesting stuff coming out. And you just recently turned me on to this dude, Agent DeSouza, former FBI.
Yeah.
And I found an interview with him. I know you told me to watch a video. I don't know if it was the same one, but the link that you sent me didn't work. So I just looked him up and I found this hour-long interview with him on this show called Redacted.
Okay.
Was that the one? Or did you see a different one?
I don't know if the one I sent you was different than that, but isn't that Redacted show Clayton Morris's show?
I honestly don't know. I wasn't even paying attention to the dude doing the interview, so I don't know. But I did see he had Stephen Greer on there recently.
Right. I only know the name because he used to co-host a show with Jim Harold way back in the day.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so he's hella into the paranormal.
Well, that would explain why Stephen Greer was on there then, why he's talking to this. I mean, the interview was super fucking interesting. So I'm curious what your what you've found about him, and it's just the stuff he says. It's refreshing to me to know that I'm not the only fucking counter conspiracy theorist.
See, that's what caught my attention about him. I came across a video that said there's some new information that came out. It was total clickbait, but it was full of good information. And they had an interview with this dude that was a whistleblower. And before we go into who this dude was, Mike, that's one thing I kind of wanted to bring up to you. A couple people actually sent me little things through Instagram of people making their videos about America. The American government admits that there's aliens or biological entities, and they would do some skits where they're brushing their teeth or something, like they don't really give a shit. That's the reaction, like we both said, people would have if they say it at this point that, yeah, sure, there's aliens, or not give a shit. But I mean, I said it at the start of that, when we started that episode, is that the government's not saying this. This is not the government saying or admitting to anything. It was a hearing of 3 whistleblowers. So that kind of made me want to ask you, to clarify, what's a whistleblower? I mean, it's somebody who worked for the government at one point, but it's not the government themselves admitting anything.
Well, yeah. So in this case, these whistleblowers are guys who are trying to point the evidence out to the government. One is a secondhand witness, meaning that he interviewed firsthand witnesses and has interviewed people that are involved in the cover-up and the program and all that. The other 2 were firsthand witnesses of these things. And so basically what they're doing is pointing, shining a light on these things that are being covered up or hidden by the government.
Right. So what's his name?
Snowden?
Yeah, so Snowden's a whistleblower, but he's leaking.
Right. Because he gave the information on the secret fucking spy program that people got all up in it. I remember I think I was taking my master's program when that came out. I was back in school. And I had somebody in my class who was she worked for a military contractor company. I can't remember which one. But I think she was also former Air Force or maybe Navy. I can't remember. One of the two. But when he came out with those revelations about how the government is spying on the people and everything, like, she got so pissed off, not because they were doing it, but that he told the American public that the government was spying on them.
Right.
She was so pissed. And I couldn't, like, that blew my mind. Like, you're not pissed off that it's happening. You're pissed off that this guy told people that it's happening. That's preposterous. And I honestly, haven't even looked in to see what that dude was up to in the past few years. But from what I know, he's still in Russia, I think.
I believe so. The video I sent Mike to watch that I found so interesting and talked about a certain whistleblower, they talked about Snowden as well. And he tweeted, I guess, that it's not aliens. I wish it was aliens, but it's not aliens. So, I mean, that was like pretty much your first exposure to like a real whistleblower that you could like observe and take in with a full mature mind, right?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you could argue that, like, provided what he's saying is true, that fucking Bob Lazar was a whistleblower. You know, when you really, because he was a former government employee that came out and told about these secret programs that the government was working on. So
right.
If he was telling the truth, he 100% would have been a whistleblower, you know, considered a whistleblower. But because it was so fucking outlandish at the time, he's just considered, you know, some con man or liar. And maybe he is. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know the guy personally. He always seemed like someone who wouldn't have a reason to lie and bullshit about this. But who knows? And now with his, you know, kind of an entanglement with Jeremy Corbell, it makes me wonder if maybe he's part of this whole fake narrative that's kind of being rolled out right now.
Right. I definitely would consider Bobby Lasers there a whistleblower. And that I was kind of trying to draw a comparison to a whistleblower that maybe everybody can relate to, but these are the people who are saying these things, not the U.S. government. They haven't admitted to anything besides like the UAP stuff, but nothing that came out of that hearing. From what I understand, I read somewhere that they're supposed to, again, have like 3 more whistleblowers come forward on the UFO, UAP stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. I have no idea who they are going to be, though, or, you know, what kind of information. Like, are we going to get firsthand witness whistleblowers, or are we going to get more people just confirming some of the stuff that David Grush was talking about? I guess we'll see.
Okay.
The thing that I'm curious about, so you remember, I don't remember if you've seen it or not. Did you see the Disclosure Project 4-hour interview thing they did with all the different military witnesses and stuff?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
okay.
When you told me about that, I watched it right away.
All right. So the thing that I don't get, like, that entire fucking 4 hours was filled with interviews of people in the military that had direct sight, viewing, contact, whatever, a direct experience with these things. And they've already come out and talked about it. They've done 2 press conferences now with former members of Congress present. They've gone on the record to give it. Why aren't they calling these people? You know, like Stephen Greer had fucking dozens of witnesses, if not more. He might have had more. I don't know. It was 4 hours worth of people talking about their experience. You know, so it was a lot of fucking people. And that was from 2001. Like, you know, we don't even need to go beyond that. And now here we are over 20 years beyond that. Just imagine all the shit that's been reported out there now. Like, why not bring in these guys to talk about these classic cases that everybody fucking knows about and get their testimony in front of Congress?
Absolutely. I think that needs to happen, especially like with what you're saying, these classic cases that everybody knows about that we can really...
Yeah, like I would love to see the dudes from the Rendlesham incident, like Colonel Holt and all the other guys, and get them to talk about the Rendlesham incident, or get the people that were witnessed the UFO shut down the fucking nukes at Malmstrom. Why don't we get them?
Yeah, that is weird. I mean, maybe we should just assume that they're not going to push to get like the best witnesses that there are.
But I mean, still, these guys are already on record. Like, why not include them if they were willing to put themselves on record?
Right. Why do you think people give such a shit now about whistleblowers and testimony? Do you think it's because the admittance of UAP presence from the government?
Oh, yeah. Once the New York Times ran that article, everything was like, at that point, whatever aspect of the phenomena is, it was out in the open and it was accepted as being a reality. You know, the question still remained what these things were, obviously, but the fact that they were there is real. You know, and as with most things in the news, most people saw it and said, "Oh, wow, that's cool," and then continued eating their pizza or whatever. But there's weirdos like us that fucking hang on everything related to that, and we're like, "Where's the fucking bodies, man?" You know, all that shit. But I think that article was the start of that. That's what started this whole thing. That started the whole narrative of and kind of forced the change from UFO being the normal term for these things to UAP. And I've said it before and I still stand by it. I think there's a reason for that. And I definitely think that a lot of these things that are being reported are not actual aliens or beings from another dimension or whatever. I think these are 100% human-made craft.
Okay.
And I think that they're being put out there. And again, I want to reiterate this fact that I've said this, or this fact. I want to reiterate this opinion that I've stated many times on the show before. I do not think all UFOs are man-made. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is these things being rolled out right now as being like the declassified UFO videos. What we're seeing here and what these pilots are saying that they are reporting are not actual UFOs. They're man-made craft of some sort, and I think that they are being built and used to further a very specific agenda.
Okay, and that's what we're going to get into with this specific whistleblower that we wanted to talk about. But before we get into that, there's, like you said before, there's a lot of new stuff going on. Let's cover that a little bit. I saw that the head of Arrow dude, who was the last he's like one of the dudes who testified like last year, the year before, and he's the one who was talking about making these things other people's problems to investigate. He apparently came out and wrote a letter, which from what I understand, he didn't send to Congress. He didn't send it in official capacity, but he sent, I think, George Knapp a letter saying that this Gish dude doesn't know shit and he didn't have clearance above him, and kind of putting down what Gish was saying.
Grush?
Yeah, that too.
Okay, cool. I'm like, when you said it the first time, I'm like, who the fuck is Gish? Is this somebody that knew that just came on the scene? I don't fucking know who this is.
No.
Right. All right. I got you. I'm on the same page. All right. Yeah, I think that guy's just butthurt that he's kind of left out. Like he's like, I'm the head of Arrow. If something happened, I would definitely know. And David Grush is like, dude, these people don't report to you and they've got no reason to even connect with you whatsoever.
Well, that's not true because I know everything.
They're supposed to.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be the guy who knows all the things. It's not fair. Me.
And David Grush is like, I'm sorry to shit in your cereal, but
No, you don't know anything, and you're full of poo poo. Me.
and then that's basically how that whole thing goes. So that guy he's just a sad Sally who's self-important, and he's probably balding, and he's probably short, and he probably has a paunch.
The letter he wrote definitely did seem like that. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I matter too.
Yeah.
What about me? What about all the things I know? Why am I not being called to Congress to talk? Me.
Because you're a sad Sally, balding piece of shit guy. I don't know. He could be fucking strapping and handsome. I honestly have no idea what this guy looks like. But in my mind, he's a giant man baby who just kind of lucked his way into a director of UFO studies position.
Another thing that was in the news that Jeppe put up in our Discord, which I didn't know what to think of when he first put it up there, and then the story kept going, and
Are you going to talk about Peru?
Yes, sir. What the fuck? I mean, I don't mean to laugh. People are being injured and dying and stuff like that. It's just more of this wave that's probably, like you say, manufactured, but it's just a big step. Like, this is weird to read about. Apparently they're reporting in Peru, a village is reporting in Peru that they're being attacked by something that they're liking to the predator, an invisible type creature that's filleting people's faces off, believe it or not.
Yeah, I saw a video of them pulling a body out of what looked like a river or something, and it had no face. I didn't know if it was real or not. Like, it's one of those things where, like, it could be real, and it could just be like so weird that it doesn't look real, even though it is real. I couldn't tell.
Did you get to watch the links that Jeppe put up in the Discord?
No.
Okay.
No, I saw this one on Twitter, so I mean, again, it's on Twitter, so who the fuck knows?
Right. It could be from anywhere that they're just putting into the story, but
yeah, it could have been from some horror movie. I really don't know.
Mm-hmm. But he also put up a story about how, I guess, the U.S. is sending troops over there for routine exercises.
Over where?
To Peru.
To Peru? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Before, this is a story we couldn't take serious and we'd laugh at and make jokes about the predator. But with everything that's going on, what do you think about something like this?
I would be interested to know what cartel activity is like in the area.
I don't want to talk about that too much, but that's exactly what I thought. Is like, it might be a specific fucking creepy video that's been put on the internet. I can probably match it up if I see it.
I mean, it would be, because they like to use scare tactics, and they do extremely gruesome sorts of killings to send a message. So I wonder if the individual that was found, if indeed that is a real video, who that person was, and if he had ties to any sort of
criminal activity,
or anything like that. But if he was just like normal dude with no ties or anything, and there's not any cartel or gang activity in the area, who knows? But with the rumors of the U.S. military being there, that could be a whole other thing. Maybe the U.S. military are running like some sort of weird program, and he was an unfortunate victim of said program.
Well, from what I understand, they were heading down there. They weren't there already. And I thought
so maybe they're there to fight. Is Jesse Ventura with them by any chance?
I hope to God, and I hope he's got his chewing tobacco that makes him a goddamn sexual tyrannosaur.
Yeah, it's so true.
But I thought about like some type of criminal activity as well. I wish I could have clicked the links in the Discord. It wanted me to sign up for Reddit or something, and I was like, I can't. I'm not doing that. So, because I've seen most of those videos, unfortunately, but that doesn't account for what the people are saying. They're not saying that's what's going on. they're saying that they're partially invisible 8-foot tall beings that are doing this. I mean, I saw that they had an interview with a girl who had her throat cut by this being. And that's what they're saying. This being, this creature. And now, I mean, the dude with his face off, if that's what the one that was put up in the Discord, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to see it. I don't know.
So here's what if, and this is going to kind of tie into the agenda that I mentioned earlier. So the U.S. military is allegedly on their way. What if there's already like these I don't know, elite squadron of military assassins or something that are already down there? They're running a program. They want to see what effect a potential alien murder would have on a populace, and how they can kind of manipulate and control the way that gets spread out there. So they're sending these guys in like super awesome fucking camouflage out into the fucking wilderness to just fucking murder people in covert ways. And then it gets reported as these, because think about like someone who's in like legit camouflage trying to blend in with the surroundings. And people, if they're good enough, people are going to walk right by them and not even notice. So say you've got two people together and you've got this guy who basically looks like a living bush, and he just kind of leans forward, grabs one of the people, slits their throat, and then just steps back, and he's part of the wilderness again. And if it's like low light conditions, the person that's with them is going to be like something invisible. Like I just saw the woods themselves come out and slit this person's throat. So you'd see like a vague outline of arms like slitting a throat. So you'd kind of put the general figure together, but it would look like it was someone fucking invisible. So what if this is just like some covert mission to spread fucking terror for a potential alien invasion? And they're just being like, well, let's do it in some fucking backwoods village in Peru where no one in the United States is going to give two shits about it except for fucking weirdo conspiracy theorists and UFO people.
Right. There's a photo, a supposed photo of one of these entities that I put in the Discord. You said it looked like a villain from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Brett.
It absolutely does.
Brett's all, is that a Spider-Man variant?
It could also be a Spider-Man variant. Yeah. Maybe the two aren't mutually exclusive. I don't know. Maybe there's a world where there's a Spider-Man variant that's also a Dragon Ball Z villain.
Yeah.
That's a world I want to live in. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to insult the intelligence of the people of Peru, but I understand what you're saying. I think that if there is some super crazy, hardcore trained fucking death troop of soldiers doing stuff like you're saying, it's going to seem, I mean, if they go undetected doing this, it's going to seem like something paranormal is happening.
Exactly. And I don't even think it's an insult to the intelligence, because, I mean, that shit is designed to trick fucking enemy combatants. So, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's an insult to their intelligence to say, you don't know the difference between a top secret trained guy and awesome camouflage. But
right.
I don't think most people would in certain situations.
Yeah, as a couple of kids walking home from school facing Black Ops dudes, it's gonna be weird.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're not gonna know the fuck's up.
So that type of stuff is what had gotten me thinking about this dude, and what he said stood out to me. It's I don't know. It sounds like an op. It sounds like it could be, but this, I mean,
right.
There's no American troops there, so we can't say it's like an American-led op. It could be an op being ran by anybody. So that's just everything's alleged. But that video I sent you is actually, you said it's been removed. It's private now, which I found interesting. But they talk about the Peru thing, They don't talk about it being like an op or anything like that, but they start talking to this whistleblower, a gentleman by the name of John DeSouza. And John DeSouza is a former FBI agent, over 25 years experience, where he specialized in counterterrorism and paranormal cases. And that, from what I understand, is not him studying this stuff on the side. It's when the FBI got paranormal stuff, they sent it to his desk. And that might sound like a television character from the beloved 90s television show The X-Files, and that's because Fox Mulder's based on this guy. This guy, D'Souza, has written books about his experiences. He is a whistleblower. He's spilled the beans on the paranormal side of what he did while he was in the FBI. In his book, The Para Investigators, he shares his experiences with negative entities, both human and non-human. In his book, The Extra Dimensionals, he shares his experiences with non-terrestrial visitors. And in Clear Hearers, he goes into his lifelong experiences with clairaudience and the Great Voice. Clairaudience is a form of extrasensory perception, wherein a person acquires information by paranormal auditory means. So this guy has apparently had a link. I mean, I read a few interviews with him. He's had a link to the paranormal his whole life. He's apparently had an ability to be able to hear spirits in a way, I guess, or gather. I don't know. Did you get any information on that aspect as far as what his own abilities were?
No, not at all. He didn't talk about any of that. At least not in the... I admittedly skipped to specific sections pertaining to UFOs. I didn't listen to the stuff about why he left the FBI or what the FBI, like, I was more interested in the UFO stuff. So I don't know about his abilities. I have no idea. Is he claiming to have abilities?
Yes, he this ability he's had since childhood, he says. And it's one thing interesting enough, I couldn't find anything on when he left or why he left VI or when, actually. But this interview that I sent you, Mike, he was talking about something that matched up with what you say a lot, and I wanted to talk to you about that. But before we get into that, what did you find out about this dude in the interview that you watched?
So in the interview that I watched, this was put out 4 months ago. So this was before the David Grush stuff. But he was talking about how some of the cases that he worked on were part of the X-Files show. And initially he was brought in because of that. They were thinking that he was leaking classified data, but the information was actually coming from other FBI agents who had worked with John in the past and had heard his stories, or maybe worked with him on a certain case or whatever. And they had since retired from the UFO and went to Hollywood to become movie consultants, basically. Or TV, whatever. But in this case, they told some of his stories to the writers of X-Files, who then wrote certain episodes based on cases that he worked on. And he did mention how... So did you hear the story of how he actually got into the paranormal stuff?
No. Before we get into that, I just have to point out, how cool is it to have somebody to be claiming that maybe some of the episodes of the X-Files were based in reality?
Yeah, that's very fucking cool. Very fucking cool.
So yeah, but tell me the story.
All right, so I wish that I had the names of these people. I honestly wasn't expecting to even talk about this, but this story is fucking wild. So he heard of this shootout that took place, where there were 5, I don't remember if it was 5 killed and 2 wounded or 2 killed and 5 wounded, but there were these 2 bank robbers that ended up getting cornered, and they were basically just completely shot up by the cops. But rather than falling to the ground, these guys, after being shot, grabbed their weapons and went around and shot every cop that was there, and then got in the car and proceeded to drive away. And as they're driving away, this other cop was able to somehow shoot them in a way where he severed their spine, and that's what finally killed them. But afterwards, they saw that these guys had fucking shots through their neck. One had a bullet hole in his aorta. Like, think about that. He had a bullet hole in his fucking aorta, and he's still running around shooting cops and fucking getting in a getaway car and driving away.
What the fuck?
But he said that this case interested him because he, it's so fucking weird. Like, what was up with these guys? At the time, I guess they were labeled as being two guys who are high on PCP, and as a result, they didn't feel any pain, but they ended up testing them, and there was no evidence that they had taken angel dust at all.
Okay, so these dudes were
So I guess that he was in the academy, or he started asking questions about this because the weirdness of it, like, really got the better of him, and he was curious, so he kept looking more and more into it. So he got this reputation for being being a fan of the weird cases. So after he graduates and he finally gets assigned, the dude that was overseeing him through the program called the place that he finally got assigned and was working at, and told them specifically that John likes to get involved in the weird cases. Make sure you give him every weird case you can find. And he said this thinking that John was going to hate doing it. Like, you're going to get all these bullshit cases and you're going to just think it's fucking stupid and you're going to hate it. But it turned out to be the opposite. And it really opened John's eyes to a lot of, I guess, a lot of secrets within the government, or maybe outside of the government, I guess. But he talks a lot about the true government, which is known in various conspiracy circles as either the deep state or the cabal. And they're this group, I guess, the way that, and the lore on this is fucking, it's so deep. So, like, you can go down a rabbit hole into this real quick. But the cabal for dummies is this. When the first civilization of Babylon rose to power, the families of prominence there basically continued to have their hand in every other civilization that existed afterwards. And every few generations they'll change their last name so that it's not, really traced. But these are apparently the families that funded the rise and fall of Rome, and the families that now currently run our banking organization. And they are the ones who are like the true rulers of this world, the ones that, like, when you talk about the New World Order or the Illuminati, like, this is them. They are the Illuminati. They are the New World Order. And he is claiming that this whole UFO disclosure thing that we're seeing right now is all by design. The release of the videos, like I said, like I've been saying forever, fucking the release of these videos are to kind of prepare the public for the existence of aliens, essentially. And it's going to lead to his prediction was that the first step is going to be, we're going to see aircraft being shot down by UFOs. And he said there throughout history and throughout American history anyway, our experiences with UFOs is that they are nonviolent. We've seen them shut down our missile bases. We have seen them, like he references the 1952 incident in Washington where UFOs were just flying over Washington fucking when and wherever they wanted. And they would scramble aircraft to go after them, and these things would just fly around them, literally fly in circles around them and go over them and under them and just like basically fuck with them, but they didn't attack them at any point in time. And he said the way that you know if it's a real UFO or if it's a human UAP craft is that UFOs will change. He said they're not physical in the way that we understand it, because they're actually from a different dimension. So they've got a whole different thing than we've got going on. And he said they'll be able to basically change shape, size, whatever. Like they morph, and that's how you know it's a real thing. And he said a lot of these, he did mention beings that come across as well, and said that sometimes UFOs come with them when they come through, and when you see UFOs with other things, that's apparently what it is. It's them coming through. But what he is saying, because these beings are peaceful and they're not going to do anything, they're not here trying to harm us. He doesn't make any claims to know what their agenda is or why they're here or even who they are. He says he doesn't know. So he's at least not trying to be, because there's all those people out there. They're like, yes, they're beings from the fifth dimension and they want to love us, and then do the channeling and the light language bullshit. He's not one of these guys. He said straight up he doesn't know what their agenda is, but he does say that what this cabal is trying to do is utilize this new disclosure movement. Now that UFOs are no longer silly and to be made fun of, and they're being taken seriously in Congress, now is the time when they plan the attack. And they start by shooting down craft, and he said it's going to be the stage is going to be set so that there's going to be we've talked about Blue Book before, where Blue Book is allegedly they're going to use like some sort of fucking crazy space laser and sky holograms to make it look like we're being invaded. This is not that. This is an actual invasion, kind of. So the craft are all going to be real. The deaths and destruction are just all going to be real. But the difference is that these craft and the beings that are going to be found inside these craft are not going to be aliens. And it's going to be a group above the governments of the world that are going to stage this fake alien attack in order to basically bring in the one world government, where and it's the perfect way to do it. Honestly, we saw after 9/11 how the entire U.S. came together for a brief period of time, and crime dropped, and everyone was caring and compassionate about their neighbor, and it was like everybody was together in this. And think about when you put that on a global scale, and you've got an invading alien, and this goes to the fucking Ronald Reagan thing that he used to say, how quickly we would come together if we were faced from an outside alien force.
Right.
And so you bring the world together, and then you control everything. You get rid of governments. Your governments, you make it seem like the governments of the world were the ones that were lying all along. The people can't trust the government. The government allowed this alien fucking threat to happen. We're your saviors now. And that's what that's the end game that he's talking about. And he even talks about the Men in Black a little bit, and how the reason that these Men in Black come to people that have seen UFOs are because they're actually working with the members of the cabal, and the cabal wants to know about the UFOs because they don't fucking know what they are. And that's the biggest thing. So whenever there's a witness that comes through and they have a genuine paranormal experience or something involving, a cryptid or aliens or UFOs, if they deem it worthy, I guess, I don't know what the criteria would be, but if they think it's something worthwhile, they will go and interview the witness and vaguely threaten them or overtly threaten them. If they talk about this with anyone, then we'll eat your face off or whatever.
So yeah, that's talked about a lot of the same thing, the false flag attacks. He's saying there's going to be real attacks. False flag attacks are going to be real attacks, but just with a hidden agenda. But he's talking about this cabal. I mean, what's your reasoning behind the government doing something like a false flag attack involving UFOs?
I don't think it's necessarily the government. I think that there's people within the government that are working against the American people. And I think in some cases they're likely aware of what they're doing. I think in other cases they think that they're working for a completely different cause. And I think that the easiest way to do it is to make the individual think that they're, if they're not to be bought outright or brought into the fold, so to speak, the best way to do it is to manipulate them into thinking they're doing the right thing. So with conservatives, you would, basically be like, convince them that they're on the side of Christians, essentially. Like, I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but that's in America, that's the bulk of the conservatives here are they're Christian Republicans for the most part. And so you'd use some agenda to manipulate them to do your bidding that would fit in line with that. And we all know the story of the bleeding heart liberal. You put something on the line that they're super into, fucking climate change or whatever, and that's the thing that you use to kind of manipulate them into doing what you want to do. Like, oh hey, this company over here will give you, they'll be a donor for your thing, but you've got to toe the line for them when the time comes. And little do they know that it's some smaller corporation that's run by some monster corporation that's run by some fucking Babylonian vampire or something. I don't know. Maybe it's fucking the great old ones themselves. Maybe they're behind the whole fucking thing.
Yeah. So with possible threat of aliens attacking villages and UFOs shooting airplanes out of the sky, he was talking about them being military and then commercial as well.
Sure, that would make sense, because it's one thing to have a military craft shot down. When you start reporting civilians being shot down, that's when shit gets scary, and that's when the public panics. And we all know when the public panics and gets afraid, we let fucking the government do whatever the fuck they want. We no longer have any rights. They'll tell you have rights. You can pretend like you have rights, but I mean, we saw, whether for good or bad, I don't want to get into the political side of the pandemic, but we saw how fear was able to drive the masses to follow the regulations that were set out by the CDC. You know, like you and everybody just complied without question. So it took a while before people started thinking, you know, maybe this isn't the way, or you know, let's see where things. But it's and 9/11 as well. When 9/11 happened, how quick everyone was ready to go to war. And just recently, President Biden started doing some investigation because the pilots on the plane, I think 15 out of 19 of those pilots were Saudi nationalists. And there's, I guess, evidence now that suggests that they were helped by parties within the United States already. So there, you know, and knowing this, so there were 15 Saudi nationals, and as a result, we go to war with Afghanistan. Does that make sense? But we were ready to fucking do it, though. You know, we were ready to do it because we were attacked, we were afraid, and we needed to band together, and we needed to fight the enemy. And that's exactly what's going to happen. You see the fucking explosions. They're going to point the finger and say that's the enemy, but it's all going to be smoke and mirrors, man. It's always smoke and mirrors. Look at fucking it's our fucking history. Look at Vietnam. It was a war that was started on false pretenses. Same with Iraq. Weapons of mass destruction that were never found, but we had to fucking invade a country because possibly somebody saw a weapon of mass destruction somewhere, possibly. But and then we found out it was all bullshit. It's just that's the history of I'm honestly, I don't know modern history for the world, so I can't really speak on that. I'm more of a ancient history guy. But I would imagine that this sort of manipulation of the masses isn't unique to the United States.
Right.
I would have to think that there's other governments that are doing the same sort of bullshit to justify their bull. I mean, look at fucking Germany during World War II. Like, you had people that normal, everyday, loving human people that thought it was a good idea to support Hitler. You know, granted that a lot of the people didn't know about the atrocities, but he was able to manipulate them to think that he was a good leader that would lead them to the fucking promised land. And look how that worked out.
Yeah, it definitely seems like there's some heavy manipulation going on right now on a global scale. It's very alarming. So for you, all signals point to whoever, the Great Lizard Wizards, the Cabal, the Illuminati, the Bacon Brothers of the Mighty Skies, whatever, is making their move, their great big move that everybody feared that they were gearing up for.
I mean, maybe. I will give it a resounding maybe. To me, I don't feel, just because of the way that it's being presented, like how they're going through this whole thing where it's being done through Congress. You're getting members of the government involved at this point. So I don't feel like it actually is the government that's covering things up. I think it's individuals within the government, but not the government itself. And I think some of them are willingly doing it, and probably more so the people, top-ranking military members, are likely the ones that are more the ones that are covering it up intentionally, whereas the other ones are being made to cover it up, probably without even knowing that they're aiding in it, just through various other actions that they're doing. They're helping to cover up the truth of the matter. And while now we're getting it seems kind of ironic when I keep using the word cover up when we're talking about potential disclosure, but I really don't think that's what this is about. I think it's all about false disclosure and saying we know what these things are now, trying to put a name and a face to what this sort of thing is, but it's really at the end of the day, it's really just smoke and mirrors. It's all what the story is what they want it to be. So you show somebody a fucking UFO, you show somebody a weird looking spaceship that's gonna shoot down a plane full of civilians, and that's all you need to justify galactic war, and fucking boom, we've already got the Space Force ready to go. And when it boils down to it, it's likely that the Space Force are all just a big fucking sham anyway, just to say, look, we've got fighter jets in space now. Pew 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 pew. And there's no real fucking threat from outer space, and they know that, but they created this whole Space Force thing anyway. So isn't it weird that the Space Force was announced that it was created, and then a year later we get a fucking the first trickle of disclosure? That can't be a coincidence.
No, I always found that to be a little bit strange.
Yeah, it's like when you really put the pieces together, like you can say, oh, you're a fucking conspiracy theorist, you're looking over, but really put those pieces together. Like this is fucking silly, guys. We want there to be aliens, so we're willing to buy into this. Like, oh, there's no fucking aliens that these guys are talking about. And that's why I think it's very interesting, some of the statements that Grush makes, which kind of lends the idea that these things are not actual beings from another planet. I do find it interesting that he says we've got craft that were shot down and we've got bodies that were recovered. And then on the other side of thing, John DeSouza was talking about how these craft cannot be shot down. We don't have, because they're not physical. So you're not going to find a crashed craft. You're not going to find an alien body because they're non-physical. We can't interact with them that way.
So what's the plan, dude?
So I don't know, man. To me, it's terrifying, really. Like, especially when this is stuff that I've been talking about for years now, to actually see it and to see somebody that was formerly a government agent researching this stuff, who's now coming out and talking about all this.
25 years.
I'm not going to lie.
25 years with the
25
FBI.
25 years experience in the FBI. Yeah. And now he's coming out and he's putting this, and he's selling the books, he's doing the hustle, but I think that there's going to be more than just some book sales to fucking weirdos on the internet to make you potentially discredit your entire career,
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine that the dude's on the bestseller list. No offense. Your book might be fucking fine, but it's no communion. It's scary to me. I don't like to think about it too much. The whole idea of the one global government thing, where it's just so insidious and creepy, and I don't like it. And I just, like, to me, the idea of the government of the United States, existing and governing my life is scary enough. Like, I want to get out from under that, but that's what I was born into. So, there's not a whole lot that I can do, but when at least, like, the option is there for an escape at some point, like if I ever needed to, like, oh fuck, I got to get out of the country, like the government's imploding on itself, I need to go to fucking Australia, or they probably wouldn't let me in, but maybe they would, I don't know. I would appeal to their criminal heritage. Australia, let me in. But, if the one world government was a thing, there's literally nowhere you could go to get away from it. Like, it's not like, fuck you, world government, I'm going to the moon. And I'll be like, good luck, buddy. And I'll be like, fuck, I guess I'm here because, really, good luck. I'm not going to the moon. I'm going to build a fucking staircase.
Yeah, it definitely feels like an all-encompassing thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the fucking prison planet, man. Need to escape from the prison planet.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.